What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Earlier today, the Overwatch developers had a live stream where they covered a lot of new information about Overwatch 2, as well as explanations on some of the stuff that they've already kind of teased or released earlier at BlizzCon and that sort of thing. And so what I'm going to do in this video is a quick breakdown of all the different important details that they covered during their live stream. The absolute biggest change that we got from this live stream is that the game will now be 5 versus 5 for all the PvP. In custom games, you're probably still going to be able to have 6 players per team, and for the campaign, the PvE stuff, it's going to be 4 players cooperative. But the PvP for quick play and for competitive and lots of the arcade stuff, that is now going to be 5 versus 5. It's going to be 1 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 support. Right away, this is going to alleviate some of the problems that Overwatch 1 has, namely that a lot of players don't want to play tank because they don't find it to be fun, so you have a lack of players on that role, which means that it takes longer for matches to be started up. But now, if you only need 1 tank for each of those matches, then it should mean that matches overall start more quickly for everyone, including people that are queuing for DPS and support. The other thing is that certain kind of trouble combos like double barrier and, certain other versions of goats and stuff that we had in the past and whatnot, those are going to be gone. You can't have double barrier anymore because you can't have 2 tanks. So this means that they are going to be able to release new tanks that do have barriers, and they're not going to have to worry about any of the situations with Reinhardt and Orisa, or Orisa and Sigma, and all that sort of stuff that we've had problems with in the past. That just isn't going to happen because you simply cannot have double barrier. So it is going to get rid of some of those problems right away. As a result, a lot of the characters in the tank role are going to get some pretty significant changes. We did see some of them during the live stream, and I'll cover those in just a minute when I go over some of the hero changes. But what you can expect is that tanks are going to operate a lot more like a Roadhog or a Zarya than they would like a Reinhardt or an Orisa, where you're not really just going to be kind of sitting back and trying to block damage. Instead, the tank character is going to play a much more active role, going to be a lot more aggressive, and really, it's not even going to be a tank anymore. It's functionally going to be a bruiser, which is a character that just has a lot of health and deals damage to the enemy. Now, granted, you're still going to be a lot tougher than any of the DPS. You're going to be able to soak up a lot of that damage, and that also gets addressed in some of the other changes that they have. Ultimately, what this is going to do is increase the speed of the game, make it a little bit faster pace, and it means that one player can now have more of an impact in the game. Whereas previously in Overwatch 1, it takes 6 people to win the match and only 1 person to lose the match. Now, you're going to have much more of an impact as that individual player. You're going to have the ability to actually carry your team. Because previously, you could be the best DPS player in the world. If the enemy team was running double barrier, you were not going to get through that. Like, there was just almost nothing that you could do by yourself. But now, since there's going to be a lot less barriers and just less tank players in general, you're going to be able to have more of an impact. Any player, whether it's the tank, the DPS, or the support, you can now have more impact, and you can do a better job of carrying the dead weight on your team and still achieving victory, despite the fact that, one person is just not really doing everything they need to do. So it means that your individual performance is going to play a much more important role. Overall, the HUD and the user interface has been greatly improved. It looks a lot cleaner, a lot more kind of minimalistic, but it shows you everything that you need to know. And also, healers got a pretty big benefit to this overall upgrade as well, especially Zenyatta. Now you can see who you have with the Harmony and the Discord Orb, and it is now placed down in the bottom center of the screen instead of being off to the side. So overall, just the user interface has been updated and improved greatly for a lot of characters, especially the supports. They've also made a change to something called Overhealth. This is what you get from Lucio's Sound Barrier. It's what Doomfist gets from his passive. There are lots of different versions of this in the game where you get extra health on top of your normal stuff. What they've done is they've changed all of it and kind of consolidated it down to one type of overhealth. So rather than having temporary shields, temporary health, temporary whatever, it is now just called Overhealth, it's one thing and it appears as green, so that it is very clear what you have. And when you're looking at your own health, or when you're looking at your teammates or an enemy or something, if you see some of that green health on that character, then you know that is non-recoverable overhealth. It was briefly mentioned about character customization, that there are going to be some things that you're going to be able to do beyond simply using a golden skin type thing. There's possibility of mixing and matching different character skins and just other customization options. However, no details are being revealed for that yet. We got an update on the character role passives. This is going to be an extra effect that each character in a particular role will get, in addition to all of the other stuff that they have. We did learn about this a little bit before, but it looks like they have now solidified what they want for these role passives. For tanks, they are now going to take less knockback from any sort of like Lucio boop and that sort of thing. They're also going to generate less ultimate charge when they're hit. So now that you only have the one tank, that tank is going to be targeted quite a bit now. And yes, they are going to be a little bit more durable than they were in the past, but they're also going to give less ult charge. So you can't just have an ult battery like what Roadhog currently is in the live version of the game. The change for DPS is that they're going to have an increased movement speed, but from what I've told, Tracer and Genji are still going to have a little bit more of a movement speed than all of the other characters. So if you didn't know, Tracer and Genji move a little faster than the other heroes in the game, and they're still going to get that movement speed buff, and they're going to be a little bit faster than everybody else. But DPS overall will have a faster movement than pretty much every other character, with exceptions. Obviously, when Hammond's in the ball and he's rolling around, he's going to be pretty fast himself. Next is going to be the supports. They will start regenerating health if they don't take damage after a brief period of time. This is just like what happens with shields, with Zarya, Zenyatta, that sort of thing, or with Mercy with her passive, where she just starts regenerating health after a short amount of time. Now, in the case of Mercy, she is going to have this passive in addition to her own version of this passive. So basically, she is getting a supercharged version of this. So Mercy is going to have that passive regeneration heal that moves really fast compared to all of the other supports. Another big change that's going to affect the different roles is that most crowd control abilities are going to be removed from DPS and support, and only the tank characters will have consistent CC. This means that some characters like McCree probably going to lose his stun. Doomfist will also have a lot of changes that are going to be happening to him as well. So it's not that it's going to completely go away. Like they did mention specifically that Ana is probably going to keep hers, and maybe some of the others will keep theirs. But most crowd control, most CC abilities are now going to be on the tank characters and not DPS or support. As for character abilities, we did get a look at some changes to existing ones and some new ones as well. For Winston, he has an entirely new ability. This is going to be his right click, and this is going to be a condensed version of the energy, and what he's going to do is just launch it out like it's a projectile. So you press it, and it's essentially a long-range projectile that will deal damage, and this is going to give Winston a little bit of a ranged attack. It's not the best, it's not super amazing, but it will be something that he is now able to use in order to hit enemies that are further away. Zarya got a change to her system with the bubbles, where now she is going to have 2 of them, where it's kind of saved up like where Junkrat has them saved up, or Tracer has blinks that are saved up, and you're going to have the same system with Zarya's bubble. You now have 2 of them, and you can choose to use both of them on yourself, both of them on your teammates, or you can use one for yourself and one for your teammate, but essentially, you now have those regenerating bubbles instead of trying to just have one cooldown for each of the abilities. Diva just gets a bunch more of the defense matrix uptime, since she's going to be the only tank on the team. She just has a better defense matrix now. And then also a change for Mei is that she will no longer freeze enemies with her primary attack. So when you're using this, you will still slow down the enemy, and it's supposed to do a little bit extra damage as well while they're being affected by this, but they're not going to get frozen anymore. However, Mei's ultimate, it looks like it still will freeze anybody that gets in that area. We also got to look at several new maps. In Overwatch 2, maps are going to be roughly the same size that we have in Overwatch 1. However, they're going to be a little bit more complicated with more options for side routes and that sort of stuff. And also, they're going to include a lot more verticality than we've seen in the Overwatch 1 map. So the first is that the push mode, which we've already seen. These maps are told to be very flank heavy, and we already saw Toronto. It's pretty much the same thing that we saw at one of the previous BlizzCons. Rome, we got to see a lot of this map being played as well. This is also going to be a push map. The New York map is a hybrid map, and this has, again, a lot of the side routes and stuff like that. Rio is going to be a hybrid map as well, and then Monte Carlo is going to be a payload map. All of these look incredible. There's a lot more detail in all of these maps. It's not that they're just, better textures or higher quality or stuff like that. There's a lot more going on just because the new engine for Overwatch 2 allows there to be more stuff. And it's just, these maps look so much better, a lot more detailed than what we have in Overwatch 1. That was all the content that we got from the dev stream. However, they're supposed to be doing a Q&A very soon, which is also going to have a lot more information. I don't expect them to reveal lots of really big new stuff in that Q&A that they're going to be doing. Instead, they're probably going to clarify some of the stuff and maybe just kind of give some teases and stuff like that. But that should be happening very soon, and when it does, I will make a video and let you guys know all of the important stuff. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of it. Now let me ask you guys, what do you think about the 5v5 change? Is it going to make the game better? Is it going to make it worse? Is it not going to have much effect at all? What do you think? Let me know down below. A big thanks to all the Paragons and other channel members for all your support. If you'd like to become one and grab some cool rewards, click the join button down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like before you leave. And remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.